A very good morning and welcome all of you to the daily news analysis for 28th of March 2025 with me Jatin Verma here at PW Only IS English. So Bar Association urges the CJI to withdraw HC judges transfer. So 5 states Bar Council chairpersons of 5 states of India, they gathered at New Delhi to put pressure on the Chief Justice of India and 4 senior most judges of the collegium to take this matter seriously and ensure that the in-house inquiry procedure is revisited, restatement of judicial values and the Bangalore principles of judicial conduct. So we are going to talk about these two matters today. What are the Bangalore principles? What is the ethics document of judiciary? So this is going to be there. Then House panel tells Centre to give more funds to states to implement NEP. This is the problem that many committees have highlighted in the past also, that Centre through many of its policy documents, national education policy, we talk about various other policies, national health policy, these policies made by the Centre, they put pressure on the states insofar as finances are concerned, and then money is not given to the states but results are expected. So that is why the same point is being repeated by the ministry, by the parliamentary standing committee here when they are reviewing the budget document. They are saying that in order for national education policy to be implemented, more funds need to be allocated to the state governments. Then from yesterday onwards, we have added a new section to our news analysis from around the globe or from around the map of the world, wherein we check out the places in the map so as to enable us to see these things like what are the important places in map. Black Sea, we are going to talk about various other places, Israel, Palestine. Yesterday we talked about Sudan and South Sudan, the Sudan dispute that is going on. All right, so today we are going to discuss Russia, Ukraine agree to end Black Sea military action. So today I'm not that well, but we'll be taking a bit of pause and we'll be proceeding very slow today, but we'll complete 7 to 8, 9 news articles in the today's news analysis. So where is Black Sea? Black Sea borders the countries of how many countries? How many countries? Okay, Mediterranean Sea also we have seen this type of a question. Here Black Sea is in news. Why? The context is, if not a full-blown ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, Donald Trump now says that, okay, let's have fragmented ceasefires. Let's talk about the sectional ceasefire. Black Sea contains a lot of assets, the underlying sea cables, okay, and the pipelines for transportation of gas. And the ships from Ukraine, Russia and these neighboring countries, they also navigate through this Black Sea. So that is why now the limited ceasefire agreement has been proposed between Russia and Ukraine so as to take it forward in bits and pieces. If not in a kind of full scale kind of a ceasefire is not possible because of the animosity, because of the differences between Russia and Ukraine. So here Black Sea is in news today because of this thing. Now what is the condition that Russia has kept? Russia says that in order for ceasefire to be observed in Black Sea from Russian side, the subsidies, the sanctions that have been imposed on the agricultural products of Russia, those need to be lifted. So Russian president is very clear. He says that if you are going to propose full-scale ceasefire, then all the sanctions, 45,000 sanctions need to be lifted in one go. But if you are going to talk about limited ceasefire, then we are going to talk about limited lifting of sanctions. Agriculture pe sanctions you have to remove. Then only Russia will observe the ceasefire in the Black Sea. Clear? So what are the US says that USA has not directly imposed any sanctions on the Russian food grains, Russian agricultural products, but it is indirectly that any country who will transact with the Russia will face US sanctions. Donald Trump has now assured Russia that we will be lifting sanctions on the agriculture. We will take steps. So US administration has ensured the Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, that steps will be taken to ensure that there are no sanctions on Russian agricultural products. But the Ukrainian president is not happy with it. He says that we are reducing the pressure on Russia, even though Russia is doing bare minimum to strike a peace deal. Now let's talk about the Black Sea map area. I have given you the context. Black Sea needs to observe ceasefire. This is what US says. Russia has kept a proposal that agricultural products related sanctions on the Russian agricultural products need to be lifted. This is it. Now, what are the countries that border Black Sea? Question number 1 for the day. Question number 2. What are the seas, what are the rivers that fall into Black Sea? Okay, this is second question of the day. Rivers that feed into Black Sea. This is another question. What is the salinity of Black Sea? So, salinity of the water, Dead Sea, we have been talking about. Okay, then Turkey, etc. These questions have been asked by UPSC. These are not the questions that I'm asking out of the blue. See here, consider the following pairs. Adriatic Sea, does it border Albania or not? Black Sea, does it border Croatia or not? Caspian Sea, does it border Kazakhstan or not? Mediterranean Sea, does it border Morocco or not? Red Sea, does it border Syria or not? This was the question of not 1989. This was the question of 2019 only. So be thorough with the map area whenever specifically something like Black Sea is in news. So here are some of the tips also. Another question of 2014, Black Sea and Caspian Sea. Turkey is located between Black Sea and Mediterranean Sea. Gulf of Suez or Mediterranean Sea. सीधी सी बात है, the most number of questions insofar as map is concerned, they have been asked around Asia, where India is located, and West Asia, your Southeast Asia, your Central Asia, because our Prime Minister visited this region, okay, and Africa at the max. Okay, if you are thorough with this area, your 10 marks are ensured in UPSC prelims. Of course, it depends upon whether 5 questions are being asked, but across the years we have observed that at least 5 questions are there from the map of Asia. Okay, now Black Sea is supplied waters by major rivers, principally the Danube River, the second longest river in Europe after Volga. Where is Lake Volga located? Okay, then after Volga in Russia, then Dnieper, then Dniester. These are the rivers that feed their water into Black Sea. All right. Some proposals have come in the past that Azerbaijan is laying down a network of cables and network of pipelines to supply gas and electricity to European region. Because Russia-Ukraine war is going on, so many countries of the region, they are ramping up their efforts to use the Black Sea as the channel to supply electricity to the European region. So this is another point. Look at Azerbaijan. What is its capital? I would be expecting answers. Of course, I can only expect because many of you don't answer. Now, about Black Sea land boundary. The Black Sea is bordered by Ukraine, then Russia, Georgia, Turkey, and Bulgaria and Romania. Okay, so these are the countries. You can remember them as Burger T. Okay, this is the short form to remember it. Burger can be had with tea some of the times when it comes to Black Sea. Memorizing the Black Sea. Okay, so Black Sea, Black Tea. This is how you can remember this acronym also. Black Sea or Black Tea, Burger Tea. So Bulgaria, etc. you can memorize. Apply this acronym, you will be able to memorize it. Now, yes, Turkey's name has been changed. It is named now as Turkey. Okay. Now, Airtel brings to Africa Pearls cable. Another news in this from around the globe, but it is quite near to India. This news article. Airtel has, what has it done? It is making India a part of 45,000 kilometer long network of cables. 45,000 kilometer long, which will connect this African region, Middle East region, and the European region with the network of high speed internet cable transfer. 100 terabytes. Okay, so we recently talked about Starlink. I had made a short also on the same. Starlink is a satellite based internet network. Okay, a constellation of around 7,000 satellites by Elon Musk's company, but that is having a speed of just 100 Mbps. Okay, you please understand, Starlink company is providing internet facilities to the poor countries of Africa and not so approachable habitations in the world, not so approachable countries of even Europe, with the satellite based internet. But here we are talking about the high speed internet. These cable networks will connect the countries, and our Airtel, India's homegrown country, which is having a lot of exposure in Africa, is now connecting India with this to Africa Pearl cable network. Okay, to Africa Pearl's cable system will bring over 100 TBPS terabytes per second of international capacity to India. Airtel has said this in the press release. Now, sir, wealth mapping will be taught or we need to do it ourselves? So what is WEATH mapping? I did not get it. Amit, क्या पूछना चाह रहे हो? हिंदी में पूछो सीधा. You can ask in Hindi also. So these are the questions around this topic, Africa. Which of the following? First of all, have you understood the news? Airtel brings to Africa Pearls cable. This is the name of the project, to Africa Pearls cable network. Now India is connecting with it. India is being connected with it with over 100 TBPS as the speed, terabytes per second as the international capacity, which it will be connected to India. These are submarine cables network. You can see how long does it span. The length of the cable, you can see from Europe, Africa, entire Africa. Okay, circumferencing Africa from this route as well, and from the Red Sea route as well, and then the Iran. This is Iran here, the Persian Gulf area. All the areas are being covered by this undersea cable, which now lands in India. Okay, so this is to Africa Pearls cable system, high speed cable system. Now, UPSC Prelims 2023 question. In the recent years, Chad, Guinea, Mali and Sudan caught the international attention. So, yesterday we had seen a question around Sudan, the civil strife that is going on in Sudan since last 2 years, right? It all began in 2019. How the UPSC frames the questions around the international civil strife. So, Chad, Guinea, Mali, these countries have caught international attention for which of the following reasons common to all of them? Discovery of rich deposits of rare earth minerals, establishment of Chinese military bases. Third, southward expansion of Sahara Desert. D, successful coups. Okay, so D is the answer to this question. All right. So these countries are all having a civil strife going on within themselves. Military has taken over the power, etc. This is how the international affairs are important. All right. Especially Africa as a continent becomes important here. Then, which one of the following is a part of Congo Basin? Cameroon, Nigeria, South Sudan, Uganda. Question of 2023 again. As I said, if we are on a daily basis through this medium of news analysis, we are covering the map based articles, then definitely 10 questions are taken care, 10 marks at least are taken care of, because 5 questions on an average have been asked in the last 5 to 7 years of UPSC prelims papers. So news analysis becomes important here. Now coming to an interesting news article, I will first of all sum up habitat. Habitat in Hindi is known as ghar, vas. Okay. Forest Rights Act, otherwise whose complete name is Scheduled Castes, the Tribes and Other Traditional Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Act of 2006. Okay, longish name, but it is colloquially known as Forest Rights Act. The purpose of Forest Rights Act is to confer the community rights, the grazing rights, collection of tendu leaves, tendu patta, kendu leaves, enabling the tribal communities who live in harmony with the jungles, with the forest areas, to thrive, to sustain their primordial way of living in harmony with the forest. These people have been living in the forested areas for ages now, 75 years, 100 years. Their generations, 3 of their generations minimum, should have lived in the forest areas. They will be conferred land rights, community grazing rights, collection of the broken wooden twigs. Okay, लकड़ी के जो टुकड़े हैं वो इकट्ठा कर सकते हैं. So all these things are allowed under Forest Rights Act. But today we are going to add another element. Are habitat rights covered? So there is a problem with this implementation of this clause. Many states have not implemented the habitat rights. They have not conferred the habitat rights on the particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Pardon me, guys. Okay, so daily news analysis is a news, such a job where we have to show up every day despite being not well. Sometimes delay happens. Today I had to delay it by 30 minutes. Nonetheless, the quality will be taken care of. So habitat rights are to be conferred as per Forest Rights Act, but many states have not conferred these rights. Why? Because earlier, the way the act was enacted, it did not clarify what do we mean by habitat. So many people in bureaucracy in Rajasthan, they interpreted habitat to be conferment of a right of house. Habitat matlab grah, unko ghar de diya, merely conferring a house to live in. But the ministry has clarified again and again. Rishikesh Panda, the secretary, the previous secretary to Ministry of Tribal Affairs, he had highlighted a point. A committee was appointed by the ministry as to why many states are not able to confer or are not giving the habitat rights, apart from the community rights, land rights, to these forest dwellers, traditional forest dwellers. Okay, so what is the problem here? Center has highlighted this problem, that these rights are to be conferred by the states, since land is a subject in the land as a subject is in the state list. Okay, since land as a subject is in the state list, Ministry of Tribal Affairs officials are now saying that they do not have much of the control, since they are sitting at the union level, and union does not have any control over the land as a subject. This is one of the problems that they have highlighted. Second problem that they have highlighted is, first problem, land as a subject. Second problem, that the definition of the word habitat. Okay, habitat word definition was not clear. Okay, so these are the problems. Third problem, that the Rishikesh Panda committee has highlighted is that the same officers who are handling the mining projects, the projects to extract mines from these areas. Okay, habitat rights are a part of legal rights. Yes, Forest Rights Act is a legal right. So same officers are having the dual charge of giving the habitat and also making the project of mining successful. So if I am a secretary, I am to make sure that the mines, the minerals underneath this land where tribals are living, okay, so they are to be provided habitat also, not only house, the spiritual activities, the communitarian activities. Okay, that is the meaning of habitat. So will I be able to confer the habitat rights on them? देखो हैबिटेट राइट का मीनिंग क्या है? व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ हैबिटेट राइट? हैबिटेट मीन्स द एंटायर कम्युनिटेरियन कल्चर, टेम्पल, रिलीजियस एक्टिविटीज, ग्रेजिंग, एवरीथिंग इंक्लूड्स हैबिटेट rather than the habitation. The meaning of the word habitat given in the Forest Rights Act has been reduced to providing a ghar, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana type of a house. Mere provision of a house is not enough to comply with the definition of habitat rights under Forest Rights Act. So these tribal communities are not being given the rights which was clarified by the ministry. Okay, I pulled it out, this definition from the FAQ section of your ministry's website, Ministry of Tribal Affairs website. A PDF is given which is not important for you, but Ministry of Tribal Affairs issued a clarification in 2015. Okay, where it stated that such interpretation of reducing the habitat to merely providing a house to the tribal communities is not enough. We need to provide habitat in complete sense of the term. Okay, then here the right to community tenures of the habitat and habitation over customary territories. What do we mean by customary territories? as a custom, they have been living there for over 75 plus years. 75 years is the minimum criteria, or 3 of their generations should have lived there. Okay, by the particularly vulnerable tribal groups includes not only the right to house, right to habitation, but also social, economic, spiritual, sacred and religious and other activities. So habitat का मतलब होता है उनका पूरा ecosystem, rather than reducing it to the complete ecosystem approach. Okay, this has been the part of the Supreme Court's judgment also. Okay, we have talked about that judgment related to comprehensive definition of the forest. If you have been regular with my daily news analysis, please answer the name of the judgment. Okay, so what was the name of the judgment in which the complete definition, which case was it? Case of 2002, 1990, we keep on highlighting it. Okay, I'm telling you, it is Godavarman case. Okay, Supreme Court had also clarified that the meaning of the forest under Forest Rights Act should not be diluted. Supreme Court highlighted this point in Godavarman case. We have been talking about it, so be prepared. These landmark cases around the forest jurisprudence are also important. Okay, so definition of habitat has been misinterpreted because of the reason that these are the reasons we have talked about. The same official, if I am made in charge of the mining operations and I am the same IAS officer who is to provide habitat rights, what will be my prerogative? My prerogative, my priority will be to extract minerals rather than providing habitat rights. Okay, किसी को घर देना है तो घर will be of within the area of 200 square yards or maximum 100 square yards, right? But if somebody is being conferred with the habitat rights, they will span across the entire land, including the forest, including the spiritual activities area, etc., etc. Okay, so that is why I, as the mining operations secretary, will not want to implement the habitat rights. This is the confusion because of which the ministry says that, the Rishikesh Panda committee says that for the habitat rights under the Forest Rights Act have not been implemented in the right spirit. Clear? Now moving further, this is the explanation of it. PDF will be provided to you. You can download it from the PDF. Now coming here, consider the following statements about particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Particularly vulnerable tribal groups reside in 18 states and 1 union territory. 2019 question. Today ministry has provided information on this also. Okay, over 25 years after the Forest Rights Act of 2006 came into effect, this is the data here. The Union government has designated a total of 75 scheduled tribes communities as particularly vulnerable tribal groups. And recent estimates indicate that these communities reside in 19 states and union territories included. Okay, with a total population of around 45 lakh. So how many states do they reside in? This also becomes important. You have a look at this question and see things for yourself. 18 states or 19 states? So 18 plus 1, 19. The statement here is correct. Okay. So likewise, there are 95 particularly vulnerable tribal groups officially notified, but there are 75 as we have just seen. So sometimes students, they ask whether this is to be covered or not, right? Whether this type of an information is to be memorized or not. Yes, this type of information when it comes to vulnerable communities becomes important for prelims exams. That is why for since last 2-3 days what we have done is we have started incorporating these questions, UPSC PYQs and the practice questions around Black Sea, around particularly vulnerable tribal groups, Sudan, etc. Okay, now coming to another important thing, House Standing Committee concerned over vacancies in nuclear and research projects. What is happening is there are a lot of vacancies in the 5 nearly 3 in the 5 posts of scientific personnel. We are not talking about the clerks, administrative staff. Scientific personnel in the nuclear departments, in the nuclear bodies dealing with the nuclear projects in India, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Bhabha Atomic Research Center. These bodies are having a lot of vacancies. This is a matter of concern. Why? Because we recently talked about small breeder reactors. Okay, we are scaling up India's nuclear energy plants. We are manufacturing indigenous nuclear plants. But at the same time, how can we live up with these many vacancies? Tata Institute of Fundamental Research 58% vacancies. Then 26% vacancies in Bhabha Atomic Research Center. Okay, Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, 22% vacancies. And these are vacancies of scientific personnel, as I highlighted. Okay, so parliamentary standing committees, the beautiful system that we have is government is held accountable for the lapses, for these kind of issues. Talk about particularly vulnerable tribal groups, talk about the national education policy allocation of funds, talk about the vacancies in the India's nuclear bodies. When the budget is reviewed, these parliamentary standing committees, they take up these issues one after the other to ensure that the funds are utilized effectively. Okay, so they have now highlighted that Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, these bodies are all having vacancies above 20%. And this is happening when a lot of new activities, when a lot of upscaling is going on in the India's nuclear energy program. So delay research, these vacancies will delay research and development, cause inefficiencies in the plant operations. Maybe sometimes a nuclear leakage might happen, etc., etc. Constrain nuclear fuel production in the country. The vacancy rate could negatively affect the country's India's nuclear energy program. So implications are there. Potential delays in India's nuclear energy program, especially considering the rupees 20,000 crore investment in small modular reactors. We recently talked about them, small modular reactors. What is the definition of small modular reactors? The other day, I think 4 or 5 days back, we studied what is the maximum capacity to be capacity of electricity to be produced by a small modular reactor in order to qualify for the definition. So what is the definition of small modular reactor is my question to you. Okay, so as we have seen in the particularly vulnerable tribal groups question, that these small facts are very important when it comes to correctly attempting the question in the prelims. Okay, so then impact on fundamental scientific research at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. So government needs to do something about these vacancies. In Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, 56% of the scientific personnel positions are lying vacant. Moving on to the next news article. Again, Parliamentary Standing Committee tells Centre to give more funds to the states for implementation of national education policy. So what happens is at the central level we envisage policies. Okay, a policy is envisaged, but the policy is actually going to be implemented at the state level. You talk about Tamil Nadu, you talk about Kerala, you talk about West Bengal. Okay, so when the adequate amount of funds are not given along with the policy, if funds are not given, how would the mandate of the policy be implemented properly? Okay, many finance commissions have highlighted this issue, that additional burden is put on the states to achieve the objectives of the policy, targets under the policy, but sufficient funds are not allocated. You talk about national education policy, you talk about national health policy, okay, you talk about police reforms. This is the same problem with every policy in India. Okay, so central government needs to allocate additional funds. This is what the Parliamentary Standing Committee, which is reviewing the budgetary outlays for Education Ministry, has highlighted. What other things have they highlighted? They have said that gross enrollment ratio, even though it has improved a lot, but in the last 5 years, its performance is not going up. It has stagnated in the last 5 years. Okay, no uptick is being witnessed, no increase is being witnessed in the gross enrollment ratio at the school level, intermediary education level, college level, higher education level. So this is something, a matter of concern. Then what else did they highlight? IITs and IIMs placement is also going down. Okay, so the big colleges of India, IIMs, etc., IIM Ahmedabad, etc., placements are not happening to the sufficient extent. This is a matter of worry. This tells us about the recession, etc. So Parliamentary Standing Committee said that it's a market phenomena though, but government needs to delve deeper. Government needs to think deeper into it as to why the otherwise known as the temples of modern India's education, why the placements are not happening in the adequate numbers from even the campuses of IITs and IIMs. Another point they have highlighted. So rest of the points, the gross enrollment ratio, etc., we have taken care of. And why NEP is in controversy in the last few days, we have talked about PM Shri program, we have talked about Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan yesterday. I asked you a question, how much is the funding ratio of the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan between the center and the state? Center is going to contribute how much and states are going to contribute how much? These questions are important because PM Shri Samagri Shiksha Abhiyan, they have been in news. Let me make you revise the other programs. Apar portal. What is Apar portal about? In the last 10-15 days, we have talked about all these issues. Okay, students are required to provide their Aadhaar card linkage for the Apar portal. All these things are important. Now, moving further, increased state spending, then enhanced union government support. These are needed to achieve the objectives of national education policy, which was brought about in the year 2020, and targets are to be achieved by 2035. Okay, so this is what the accountability of the. Now the panel observed a decline in placements. We have covered this point also. Moving further, concerns about common university entrance test. They also talked about the quality of questions. Like once they talked about UPSC also, the quality of questions in the CSAT is not taking care of the concerns of the Hindi medium students. Okay, now here concerns, some panel members expressed doubts about the CUET's suitability as a universal admission method. Common university entrance test is not taking into account the differential criteria, the diverse criteria of admissions for JNU. So JNU type universities have their own criteria of admission. Okay, apart from the academic test like common university entrance test, JNU also gives weightage to the background, economic background. Okay, economic background of the students is also taken into account. Then second point is, if a child lost his father or mother, or if a disabled family member is there, these points are given weightage. These social conditions of the student's life is given weightage while admitting students at JNU. But CUET prescribes a watertight criteria to be adhered to by all the universities. You talk about Tamil Nadu, Kerala, etc. Okay, so that is why the Parliamentary Standing Committee is saying, first of all, check the quality of the questions. Second, check the criteria. Okay, one size fits all kind of an approach cannot be adopted by the center for all the universities by prescribing CUET score as the only guiding factor, as the only factor for admitting students into universities. Okay, the panel recommended a review of CUET's question paper quality and design to ensure the alignment with NEP goals. National education policy goals are not in sync with, or CUET questions are not in sync with the national education policy's goals. Then the report highlighted that CUET does not allow universities with specific legislative mandates. JNU was created with its own mandate. Okay, so Maulana Azad University, they have been created with their own mandate to have their own admissions criteria, but CUET imposes the CUET based admission test criteria on these universities which were created with their own legislative mandate. There is a separate act for such universities. When there is a separate act giving autonomy to the university, giving the university the power to have its own admissions criteria, how can CUET be prescribed as the test for admissions for such universities also? Clear? So these are the points. CUET thing we have talked about. Then Donald Trump. How can we miss about Donald Trump's news? Finally, 25% duties, customs duty for the cars and auto products being imported from India and the rest of the world to the USA. So US will now impose customs duty from April 3 on the cars and other products coming into USA. Now, if we look at the imports, extent of imports by USA, $3 billion. Okay, for India, the impact is going to be $3 billion worth of auto components. We are able to export auto components to the US to the extent of $3 billion, which roughly translates to, at present value of $85. Okay, so this is 25,500 crore rupees for India. This is going to impact India US imported $474 billion worth of I'm sorry, $474 billion worth of automotive products, including passenger cars worth $220 billion. Okay, total passenger cars as a one unit, $220 billion. India's Jaguar and Land Rover, since they are now manufactured in India, okay, Tata had bought this company, Jaguar Land Rover. Okay, so these cars are going to be now imported to India, to the USA, but they will have to pay 25% customs duty while entering the US market. This is going to be a matter of worry for India. And Parliamentary Standing Committee said that why we are appeasing USA, why we are reducing the equalization levy, why we are not imposing or taking the strict measures against the USA, rather than appeasing Donald Trump, rather than trying to please him. Why are we not taking stringent steps against the United States? Well, US is US. Everyone knows that, right? And Donald Trump is even more worrisome as a phenomena. The main components exported by India include chassis fitted with engines, electrical lighting, signaling equipment, and windscreens of the cars. These things are manufactured in India and we supply them to the US. Now they will have to meet 25% customs duty. If, for example, earlier the windscreen of the car was for 1 lakh rupees, now it will be for 1,25,000 rupees. Okay, this will increase the cost in the American market. Maybe Chinese products will be able to win over. So this is the problem. Now, stock market volatility, ED cases, Enforcement Directorate cases, AI, among other issues raised in the question hour. So demands for inquiry into why stock market is so much volatile these days, why retail investors are losing their money. These are the questions that were raised in the parliament. Not much of our relevance. I've just incorporated it as to how during the question hour the parliament holds the government to account. The respective ministers, for example, AI, Ministry of Electronics and Information and Technology, the minister will be held accountable. Okay, stock market, Minister of Commerce will be held accountable. Okay, Minister of Finance will be held accountable. So this is during the 0 hour. Now you have to answer in the comment section, what is the time span of 0 hour? Is 0 hour an Indian innovation or was it there earlier also? Okay, have we innovated it and does it happen every day? What is the time limit allotted to it every day, during every session of the parliament? So these things are there. Now, coming to the judges issue. To reform the judiciary, Bar Council chairpersons from the 5 states of India, 5 chairpersons of the Bar Councils, they have visited Delhi. They visited Delhi yesterday. They met the CJI and 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court to put pressure on the CJI, to put pressure on the Supreme Court institution as an institution to reform the working of the judiciary. First pointer they made was about Justice Yashwant Verma's case, that why to start this in-house inquiry procedure, why not directly file an FIR? When especially the grave allegations of corruption have come in, isn't it? The allegations of corruption are serious and prima facie, not prima facie, it is in the bureaucracy, there is a phenomena called as summary trial. In 2009, the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had said that if any IAS officer is caught red-handed taking cash or bribe or something, he will be immediately dismissed from the service. And same happens even to this day. If cash is found at the residence of any IAS, IPS officer, there is a summary trial. They are not given the opportunity to be heard, etc. No delay because of the litigation. Then why such kind of a privilege is being given to the judges? This is the point here, right? In case of blatant corruption, visible corruption, brazen corruption, बेशर्मी से अगर भ्रष्टाचार हो रहा है, brazenness से, if the corruption is visible, why to follow the procedure of law? That too in the matter of a judge. Judiciary is not isolated. Judiciary is not to be given any special privileges. Okay, so this is their contention here. The 5 Bar Council member chairpersons have come here. They argued that criminal law must be set in motion in Justice Yashwant Verma's case. especially when currency notes have been found at his residence. Okay, concerns about evidence tampering. Bar council members, they highlighted the report from Delhi High Court Chief Justice, which stated that items were removed from the premises, items were tampered with, which is a kind of criminal offense. And when Justice Verma is doing all this, tampering with proof and all, we are following the due process of law. When there is a lot of flaw in the conduct of the judge. Now, this is all sensational news. Let us go to the relevant part of it. Judicial accountability standards. Okay, we have Judicial Inquiry Act of 1968. We have been talking about it. Okay, and then the other day we talked about 1999 in-house inquiry criteria. Okay, what if the allegations of corruption are found against the judge? How the in-house inquiry proceeds? Until recently, it was a completely opaque process, and only in 2014 the details were made public as to what is the in-house inquiry process. Okay, we have covered that in the yesterday's news analysis. I can only request you all to please cover the news analysis of last 2-3 days if you are joining in today, and if you're liking the analysis, if you think that yes, this is something you wanted in English and you are at the right platform. So we are covering the news analysis in a continuous manner. Okay, every day I will cover a new dimension to the topics that are there rather than repeating the same dimension. So now coming here, existing in-house procedure, the Supreme Court approved the in-house procedure in 1999. This procedure is grounded in two key ethical charters of judiciary, two key ethical documents. Okay, civil services code of conduct rules are there. Likewise, politicians code of conduct rules are there. Okay, drafted by the parliament, drafted by the civil services organization, government, respectively, for civil services. But for judiciary, these are the two key documents. The restatement of values of judicial life. Restatement of values in judicial life, 1997. Okay, then the Bangalore Principles of Judicial Conduct, 2002. These talk about the moral precepts, moral things like judge should not be socializing too much. Okay, have you ever seen judges going to the marriage of Falana Dhamkana? I mean, every Tom, Dick and Harry. Judges should not be, borrowing somebody's vehicle. Like Justice, previously there was a judge, Bobde, who he was riding on the motorbike belonging to BJP leader in Mumbai. He was the Chief Justice of India. Right, so these type of instances, judge traveling in the BMW or Mercedes, these things are taken care of in these documents. Now, the Bar Council is urging the Supreme Court that these two documents need to be revisited since it's been more than 2 decades. Okay, 20 साल से ज़्यादा हो गए, more than 20 years. So we need to revisit these two documents in the light of the emergence of new forms of corruption, new forms of glorification of money, right? Power. So it is the primary ethical code. Restatement of values of judicial life can be used in your mains answer. It is the primary ethical code for judicial behavior adopted by the Supreme Court in 1997. Its core principle is that a judge's conduct must reaffirm the people's faith in impartiality of the judiciary. Judges' conduct must reaffirm the faith of the people. लोगों का विश्वास न्यायपालिका में बना रहना चाहिए. जज का आचार विचार ऐसा होना चाहिए. Judges' conduct should be such that people should be able to reaffirm their faith in judiciary. But finding the 15 crore rupees lying in the storehouse of a judge's house, it reaffirms or it degrades the people's faith in judiciary. Right? So even though the note had the Gandhiji's photo, Gandhiji was a man of principles, etc. है ना? But what was it doing? What was the stash of such a huge cash doing at the residence of justice? Grave injustice. A matter of grave unethicality. So that is why these principles are being reaffirmed now. Bar Council is reminding the judiciary of its own principles. Second, Bangalore Principles of Judicial Conduct. It provides a framework for regulating judicial conduct. Okay, it mandates a judge's behavior both in and out of the court. So as I said, Kunal Kamara had once taken a dig at Justice Bobde. Okay, he was a judge from Maharashtra. So Justice Bobde, during the COVID times, he logged the Supreme Court because of the COVID contagion effect of the COVID. So even as the Supreme Court was not functioning, Justice CJI Bobde was riding on a bike without mask. Judges' behavior, both in and out of the court, even if on a bike, must maintain and enhance public confidence in the impartiality of judge and the judiciary. This is the problem, right? So that is why, in fact, this principle is the first principle. The restatement of values in the judicial life, the very first rule of the code is that the behavior of a judge must reaffirm the people's faith. But people's faith is getting degraded, and judiciary is the last resort of people's hope. When there is corruption in the government, PNB scam, a lot of scams are there, and if the last pillar of the democracy is also crumbling under the glorification of corruption, social glorification of corruption, the swanky cars, the big bungalows, and the post-retirement lavish life of judges, then where will the common man go? This was all in today's news analysis. I hope you are enjoying it. I request you all to please answer all these questions so that we together can enrich the news analysis. Okay, if you are not answering the questions, my half the hard work goes in vain. It goes waste. So please answer the questions and subscribe to the Telegram channel that is there. The PDF is shared over there if anyone is joining new. And some of the questions for prelims every day, we will be sharing 5 to 6 questions for the preliminary exam and 1 or 2 questions for the mains exam. Based on the DNA, based on the current affairs, based on polity, economy, geography, history, depending upon the context of the news. With this, I end this news analysis for today. We'll meet again tomorrow at around the same time, 8 to 8:15 a.m. Thank you guys.